If you are a frequent listener to the podcast, you know that we have been sponsored by Fuji Sports for quite some time now. Whether you're looking for apparel, equipment, bags, or accessories, Fuji Sports has got it covered. Go to fujisports.com to see the latest selection of everything you need for your Jiu-Jitsu, Judo, or MMA journey. That's fujisports.com. Let me take a minute to tell you about RŌL TV. If you're looking to take your Jiu-Jitsu to the next level and supplement your BJJ education, then RŌL TV has you covered. RŌLAcademy.tv has over 1,500 videos covering individual techniques, positions, and concepts, including seminars and workshops with top-level competitors and instructors like Chris Wojcik, Robert Drysdale, Aaron Hurley, Emily Kwok, and more. Whether you are a beginner or more advanced student, RŌL TV is the online platform that can take your jiu-jitsu to the next level. What's up, everyone, and welcome back. If you haven't already, please hit the like, share, subscribe, download, listen, or whatever other button there is, and leave us a review wherever you do listen. This helps us bring you the great guests and amazing content that you've come to expect. In this conversation, Thomas's guest shares his journey from traditional martial arts to jiu-jitsu, discussing the challenges and rewards of teaching and learning. He emphasizes the importance of discipline, consistency, and personal growth in the martial arts, while also reflecting on the evolution of jiu-jitsu as a sport and art form. The discussion touches on the complexities of teaching diverse students, the significance of different belt ranks, and the impact of the UFC on the popularity of jiu-jitsu. Here's the RŌL Radio with the founder and commissioner of the AVA Submission Grappling Federation, a 4-time World Masters champion, 3rd-degree black belt under Brian Johnson, and the head coach at BUDō Northwest Vancouver, Scott Boudreau.
Welcome to RŌL Radio.
and live. Intense beginning, right? The little countdown intense, that takes place. Scott, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Thomas. Appreciate that.
Absolutely. How is life going? How is everything? How is your morning? You said that you have a specific routine before life begins, if you will, if your day starts. How was your morning this morning?
Morning's good. I wake up. I'm usually quite groggy in the morning, to be honest. And
are you a cranky morning person?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. But I snap right out of it. I take a cold bath and I snap right out of it. I don't have a cold plunge, but the water's pretty darn cold here in Vancouver, believe it or not. And that wakes me up for sure. And
why grumpy? Why grumpy in the morning? What's the trigger?
I don't know. Just don't want to get out of bed. Maybe it's because I have. Maybe I have really long days, and maybe I just want to sleep more or something. But yeah, it's pretty rough there. Just getting up. That's okay. Yeah. I snap right out of it. Takes a few, just a cold bath just totally wakes me up. Then a coffee, and it's all good.
It's all good, huh? down the hill from there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you said long days, long evenings. Is that because of teaching?
Yeah, well, I spend most of my day doing a lot of administrative work, and then I teach in the evening. Get home pretty late. I finish off with more work before going to bed, and it's the same thing every single day. Very busy.
Many consider, at least the outsiders looking outside in, consider as being an instructor is an easy job. We just come in, we teach a class or two, eat some acais, surf maybe when that allows, and life is good. Would you disagree with that thought?
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely not that simple. I think it's a lot, like you're dedicating your life to teaching jiu-jitsu or spreading the word of jiu-jitsu. It's not just a little hobby for a lot of us. I think you open a gym, you're going to commit a lot of time, a lot of passion. So yeah.
Did you feel the same way before you were teaching full time, or before you started this venture of being a leader on the mat? or was this more of an awakening as things were unfolding?
Well, for me, I've been doing Kyokushin karate since 9 years old. So before I started jiu-jitsu, I was teaching a little bit. It was not full time, but I've always wanted to do jiu-jitsu. And once I started, I got really into it, addictively. Trained almost every day. Now, I wasn't thinking I was going to teach it or anything, but when I started, when I got my blue belt, I opened a gym and I started teaching jiu-jitsu, to beginners, and I just got really passionate about it. So I was teaching. I was also going to classes, learning from my instructor, and competing. And now I'm fully absorbed.
You mentioned
100%
that
absorbed.
you mentioned that you were not planning on teaching per se. At which point did that convert? Like, at which point did that flip that you became interested?
Well, it's friends saying that it would be a good idea. They thought I should probably teach jiu-jitsu, teach kickboxing, just be an instructor. This this whole venture started a little bit later in my life. I was about 34 years old, with a day job, and I was teaching, but it was not full time. But with advice and friends
do you
pushing.
feel like that was because they liked you, or because you were doing something well, or maybe there were some leadership skills that you were presenting? What was the trigger that other people thought that you would be good at this?
I think it's just the knowledge that I've accumulated. It's enough to show people and teach people. I'm not too sure exactly, anything else. I think it's because of what I know, and what I'm able to teach. I'm not too sure if it's the skill that I have to teach, but I don't know. The students seem to like it.
That's good. Our jobs don't exist without the students, right?
They don't know exactly. So,
a moment ago, you mentioned that you started your martial arts early on in your life. It started with karate and more traditional approach to martial arts. Do you remember the beginnings of it when you were little?
Yeah, well, from when I was a kid, I got bullied a lot, and it was on a regular basis. There was a little group of kids. They would always corner me, and they would like take turns on beating me up, literally. And parents weren't doing anything about it. The school wasn't doing anything about it. My parents didn't know what to do, so they just threw me in a martial art. So we just, I come from a small town, Campbellton, New Brunswick. So there's not, it's like 8,000 people there. So there's not many gyms. There's obviously no jiu-jitsu at that time. This was like in the 80s. But there was a Kyokushin karate gym, and there was a judo gym. And there was a taekwondo. So, I tried all of them. Kyokushin was pretty hardcore. There's no kids program. They threw me in there with the adults. It's full contact, so I got beat up a lot. They had no mercy on me, so it's perfect. So
how old are you? How old are you back then?
Back then I was 9 when I started.
Okay, 9.
Yeah.
So you're thrown into as a 9-year-old. You're thrown into an adult classes. Is anybody your size? I mean, and 9 is not really. I mean, not even a teenager,
small.
Right? You're small, right?
Very tiny. So
how is the feel? Walk me through this. Like from one perspective, you getting bullied at school on a regular basis, but then you get put into this environment of martial arts, which one would think is not any better. You're getting, in a way, bullied here too, or at least shoved around, like with a different intent. I understand that part, but how did that feel?
Well, it immediately gave me confidence. I felt like, the body movement was very natural. I really enjoyed the fitness workout. I think there was a encouraging environment. And the toughness, it felt different. It was not like bullying. It was, it just, I could feel like I was getting stronger. There was a couple of kids, but like, we're talking about like 30 adults and maybe 2 or 3 kids. So, I had people my size to train with, but the adults, when they trained with me back then or trained with like just the whole attitude of Kyokushin karate in the 80s, it's like full contact. There's no, like in Jiu-Jitsu now, when you roll with a little kid, you're not gonna, smash them or anything. You're gonna be a bit more playful.
Give me a visual of this, of the sparring session at that time between you or between 2 adults. I'm just trying to get a visual for those who are not familiar with the style.
Sure.
What do you mean by full contact?
Well, it means that you hit as hard as possible. There's no gloves, there's no headgear, there's no, you can wear a cup, it's optional. No mouth guards, no shin pads. It's kind of like, you just wear a gi and hit each other.
I would imagine that can be very scary for a 9-year-old.
Oh yeah, very scary. But I think I remember by repeating this, I got used to it. It wasn't a big deal, and it kind of gave me confidence, and I could walk around, and the bullying stopped immediately. Probably from vibe, like they don't, like bullies kind of usually always look for weakness, I suppose.
Yeah,
and that just didn't exist anymore.
Was that a refreshing part? The fact that you start doing something new gave you a confidence, and now this bullying factor kind of shifted away?
Oh, it was great. I mean, at a certain point, I kind of even forgot about it and just focused on the training and the commitment and just that, the being consistent with the training. And then I started competing, and it was great because, I always looked up to, grading at the next belt. There was always something that would, to look forward to work towards. And, it was cool journey, the Kyokushin journey. I don't do Kyokushin anymore.
How long did that go on for, actively?
Yeah, I stopped teaching Kyokushin maybe close to 40 years old. I was teaching kickboxing as well. So I've been
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, I've been practicing. Yeah, stand up is kind of like I don't do that anymore. It's strictly jiu-jitsu at this point. Although I respect, I still really think the Kyokushin kickboxing, it's all still really good, and I respect it a lot.
Where did that kickboxing come from?
It's from teaching. When I opened my gym, I was teaching a Kyokushin program, and kickboxing just naturally was something a bit more casual. A lot of people just want to get in shape. Mm-hmm. So I thought I could offer something like that, just people come in and hit pads instead of doing the very formal martial art.
What was the biggest lesson that you learned from karate? And I'm thinking this in a sense, many people these days, don't appreciate traditional martial arts as much. And some of them even put it down in a sense of, useless, don't work, and so on. And whether one agrees with it or not, I think many individuals, such as yourself, came from a traditional background.
Yeah.
What are the lessons that you learned all throughout the life from the karate style?
I think it's a discipline. It's the first thing that comes to mind is discipline. You just develop a consistency. Like you go to class, no matter how you feel. You do the class, no matter how you feel. You just put the feelings aside and you just do the work. And so it helped a lot with work ethic.
Why do you think that's not so visible in Jiu-Jitsu these days?
Well, I think Jiu-Jitsu is like it's more of a science. It's taught more of a science instead of a martial art. People feel like they're definitely drawn more to what they want to do. I mean, there are definitely some traditional martial arts. I don't, you at your gym, maybe you teach more like on a traditional way. You know, there's some that are more casual about it. So there's a big range, I mean, of styles on, you know, on the approach of teaching jiu-jitsu.
Do
And
you
it just
think that's
allow,
do you think there's a hindrance to jiu-jitsu as as an art, as a sport, or is that actually benefit to it as far as the freedom of the approach?
I think it's complicated. It depends on why the person is learning jiu-jitsu. You know, some people are doing jiu-jitsu for self-defense purpose. So these people might need a different approach. Some people do it for self-confidence. Some people do it for fitness purposes. Some people think it's just a cool sport and they just want to do it. So, and you know, and then you have some people they just want to dabble into it, and yeah, it depends on the purpose. And the great thing about that is that there is a lot of options for gyms. You know, there's different cultures and so many different gyms that you can find for yourself, I guess, right? So it's hard to say like if it helps or hinders jiu-jitsu. I
Yeah,
have a hard time. I
yeah,
have a hard time.
it's complicated, isn't it?
I think it's very complicated. Yeah.
Isn't
I
it
mean,
interesting? Like I often reflect on this. Isn't it interesting how the traditional martial arts, whether karate or taekwondo or even judo, like that's probably the closest to jiu-jitsu as we know it, right? But the more traditional ones, the approach was very cut and dry, very sharp, very very organized, extremely structured, extremely driven on respect, and this new thing comes in, which you know it was born from judo in a way, modified and molded, but it has this opposite side of the spectrum. It
it
is
does.
very free flowing. It's almost
Yeah.
disorganized. I mean, like I think we're making efforts to organize it, but
Yeah.
even the organization is very much so boxed in based on the organization or the academy or the region, or even just mentality of the individual instructor. It definitely doesn't have all inclusive system for everybody.
No, I think it's actually probably impossible. I mean, you know, some of us may like really wish for it. You know, order is awesome, right? In the way that you can feel a lot more relaxed and just trust a process. But again, even jiu-jitsu as an art in itself is very complicated. There's too many techniques. You know, there's too many different types of bodies. A lot of people have explored, you know, different stuff with jiu-jitsu. So it's hard to pinpoint. It's an individual journey, and everybody's different. So it's very evident today, you know, how someone can fight a totally different way from another, like 100% different. Even the way the mind works, you know, you can't. Some people fight very proactive. Some people defensive. And you know, in the old days, I remember always Gracie would say, you know, it's about the defense. But you can definitely be on the attack as well, you know. But yeah, the art has grown so much.
Do you find the component of the large diversity as a complicated component for an instructor? Otherwise, what I mean by this, you know, imagining walking into a room with 50 people, you know,
Yeah.
we both know that means we have
Yeah.
50 different brains, 50 different body types. Maybe you can categorize them, but you definitely not cookie cutter teaching to one person.
No.
And do you find that complexity as challenging for the instructors?
I think it must be very hard with it. Like I used to teach like a bigger class. Like my gym is a lot smaller. I moved after COVID to a smaller space, so I have you know, my maximum class is maybe 20, 25 people in the class. I used to teach like 40. I had an assistant with me. We had to walk around. So I had a program very very strict for that situation. But now I'm kind of, I feel the room a little bit. When there's a mixture of beginners, advanced, of course I come in with a plan, but on the spot I'll feel the room and kind of make adjustments as required. If if everybody's like, brown belt or purple belt plus, I'll probably go really deep into details. But if, there's white belts, like brand new white belts mixed with higher ranks, I'll probably simplify things a lot or give a few options. I always do a Q&A as well. I'm very, like with my class, I'm very big on like with the whole class sharing problems they're trying to solve for themselves. So that's a good way to help. I do this in the beginning of the class. So it kind of helps me understand the level that we're looking at. So I'll let like about 5 questions come in and deal with those. And
yeah, I can
definitely
imagine
not random. It's not random. Yeah, I'm not teaching randomly, but
well, that's the art of teaching, right? And I think that's a similar. I think what we are talking about is education in general, not necessarily jiu-jitsu, right? But similar things happen in school, in the classroom, or whether you're university or elementary school. I mean, the ability to relay information to somebody who's seeking the information in the simplest, understandable way, so they can comprehend and take it away, right? I mean, that's essentially what we are talking about, right?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah. So it's very interesting. And, as long as I'm trying to help every single student equally, that's the best that I can do. And really listen to what they're trying to accomplish.
Let me ask you this. At which point should students take the accountability for their own education?
Well, I think they should always take accountability. I mean,
but to all fairness, if you come into a first class, you're oblivious to life. Like, you have no idea what's going on, right? So, like,
no.
But there is this point, I feel like, at least, during our journey from day one to, let's just say, the black belt, in which one would take more responsibility for asking questions, educating themselves, doing their own research, experimenting, staying focused, staying motivated. And like some of these things fall on a student, I believe, at least. As an instructor, we are more of a facilitator than anything else. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's like and this is tough for some students that come in and they don't even know what jiu-jitsu is. They just want to learn self-defense. They just come in and they're fully raw. It's a huge eye-opener. The first few weeks for them, they're like lost, completely lost. They have no idea what the hell is going on. They believe in it. But it's kind of like I eventually have to tell them, like, look, you're going to have to do some studying at home a little bit. You come to the class, go through the process of the lesson. Always be ready for questions. Even if some techniques might not resonate right now, just do it. And eventually it'll come around. You'll remember it somehow in a very interesting way.
Do you feel like that sometimes we find ourselves in these positions as we have a student who is trying and trying and trying, and it's just not sticking for whatever reason it is. But that trying time, the period of failure, is actually more productive long term. At least I've experienced this, that perhaps a month or 2 or 3 later, they're like, this epiphany. Oh, I remember this. This is what it was. And it just sticks. Yeah. But when we are in the weeds, when we are trying and failing, it could be extremely discouraging. Couldn't it?
Oh, yes. Oh, totally. I have a few students that occasionally, will feel exactly like that. They'll be very depressed that they're not moving ahead.
Yeah.
But, every time I see that person, I see progress, I have to point it out. I'll tell them, look, you may not feel it, but I can see it. It's happening. It's 3 months later, but you have become better. Just want you to know this. And I think that helps with their confidence. And suddenly, hopefully, that kind of pushes them to get a little bit better each day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think it's just having a positive attitude and understanding. I'm not really big on pushing the student too hard, unless I know that's what they need. That's rare. But most of the time, it's just like being encouraging. And like you said, over a lot of repetitions, a lot of time, they'll remember things. And they do. It's just some people are slower than others, but consistency always wins, in my opinion. So
Define consistency for me. What does that mean in your mind?
Well, for me, consistency is just keep showing up, keep doing it.
Does the amount count?
Maybe. I think maybe for some people, repetitions might count so that they can have muscle memory. But I think, just showing up to classes, and just always trying whatever the lessons are, just always being there to, putting an effort, no matter, some people compare themselves to other people at their same level, and that can get in their heads. So I constantly have to remind them that, yeah, you're helping each other, but you're also on a very personal journey. It's not about anyone else, actually. Your team helps you, but you're on your own journey, and sometimes just don't rush. Some people want to. It's very difficult because some people want. I don't think you can force jiu-jitsu into somebody. You can, or if you want to get better, there's ways to get better, but you can't rush it. I don't know if you understand what I mean.
No. I can completely relate to this. Actually, I was just speaking to somebody about this a couple of weeks ago, because I remember, 10 plus years ago, when my academy was opening, I was taking things personally when people didn't want to do it anymore. Like I felt hurt, maybe even offended in a sense. Like, I don't understand why you don't want to do this. Like, I had so much passion behind it. I could not comprehend logic why somebody wouldn't want to do this. Today, I very much share what you're saying. It is, I can present this to you. I can make your life easier. I can show you the recipe. I can remove obstacles from your way, but you got to walk it. And if you choose not to, you are unwilling, unable, incapable, that part is out of my control. And that's something each individual has to decide, right?
Absolutely. So I personally, I never judged the student that comes in. I have an example student that I think he's 78 or something like that. He's got hip replacement. He can't move his hips. He can't move his knees. So, shrimping and framing with the knees and shielding is very difficult for him. So we're always modifying some stuff for him. When I see someone like that, I'm like, okay, well, anyone can do it. As long as the instructor is patient and has some time and some creativity to kind of help adjust. I find in jiu-jitsu, there seems to be so many ways. Another example, I had a student a while back, only had one leg, and he's definitely scared to start, but I convinced him to do it, and he came up with a really cool style, all based around leg locks, and he got to purple belt. So, like, anyone can do it. Even people that can't absorb mental information, they might be physically fit. There's a lot of those people too, right? They're really, really fit, but they they just don't know how to do techniques. It takes a long time. They're very aggressive. And then you have timid people, people that like, you know, women, for example, or even men, you know, they're just very scared. Yeah. There's all sorts of people. I think it's just about, you know, as an instructor, I know how, like, I've gone through that phase in the beginning, like very like, hey, you know, like just do what I tell you and everything's going to go fine. But I think I've developed the patience and just support.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
as an instructor.
That's hard for many, right?
It is.
Being patient.
Yeah, it's tough, but I I don't know. I don't enjoy being stressed, so I'd rather be patient.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Well, take me back to the beginning of your jiu-jitsu journey. How did that start? Why jiu-jitsu?
Okay. I was around. I watched UFC 1. And
was it live, or this is a little bit later? Are we talking about 93 or?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
No, I think it was 93, and I don't remember if it was live or on VHS or something. I don't know. But I saw it. I saw UFC 1. I saw Royce Gracie. And, you know, I kind of heard like, oh, yeah, there's these karate guys and there's all these different martial arts fighting in this. And I'm like, oh, yeah, the karate is going to win. Because that was just such a cool concept. I'm like, yeah, I want to see these different styles fight. But I've never heard of jiu-jitsu. And I saw Royce Gracie, and I'm like, holy cow, man, what the hell is that? I was totally blown away, 100%. And then UFC 2 came out, and I just kept watching them. And I was just fully blown away. And, you know, I was living in...
Walk me through that experience. Because you are not the first guest I had who says, look, I am 100%, I would put all my savings to bet that this little Brazilian guy is going to get demolished. And obviously we know that things didn't go that way. But coming from traditional background, the confidence that we held at that time was very, well, it was challenged. And this whole experience was very eye-opening. Walk me through this. You have years of experience at this point in striking and karate. And you watch this experience. You have no clue. You're oblivious to what jiu-jitsu is. These guys walk into the cage. You're thinking, well, this is going to be easy one. Let's see where this goes. And what's going through your mind?
Well, I think after I saw the first match, I was immediately supporting him. I kind of like, I'm like, okay, I want to see him like, and I know he's going to, like, I almost had, like, I could have bet that he was going to win everything. Because I think I understood, I mean, it blew my mind, but I kind of understood, okay, this is definitely different. And he just needs to close the distance. And no one knows what to do about it, right? So, yeah, I was like being a karate guy, it didn't matter to me. All I cared about is effectiveness. And, yeah.
Do you feel like at that time, when you're watching this, do you feel like you wasted years of your life learning something that's ineffective?
A little bit. I'm like, where can I learn this? In Vancouver, at that time, Marcus Soares was the only person teaching Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's from Brazil. And it was too expensive. I couldn't afford it. So I just went to the library, found this Japanese Jiu-Jitsu book. Techniques, they're all standing up. It looks like self-defense, but I see like an arm lock. I'm like, that's probably a little bit like it. And get a buddy and just train in my living room on the carpet with him. And we would just roll around, not knowing what the hell we're doing. So that's how I started jiu-jitsu. I was like, I needed to know how. And I just was fascinated.
How long did that go on, the living room experience?
A couple years.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, like not every week or anything. Like, no, once a month. Yeah, I get it.
But there was a period, a long, extensive period of time before you actually had a formal lesson.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Was this all from books, or are you like? How are you guys gaining the intel? Like, how are you getting the information?
Well, we would watch a UFC, and we would just watch, the Gracies fight, and then we'd be like, okay, cool, let's, get all like excited and inspired or whatever, and just wrestle. And I'm glad we didn't tape it, because it would probably look terrible. But it was so much fun. It was so much fun, and I think it allowed creativity. I think that's what I liked a lot about it. There's some creativity in stand-up fighting, but it's super limited and small. It's very interesting, footwork and strategy on how to hit somebody. But grappling is a totally different thing. Like, there's the options are almost unlimited, it seems,
Tell me what was so appealing about this grappling thing. Like, I hear you on all of this.
Okay.
But I'm also stepping back from this and kind of looking at this big story of Scott, and coming from very traditional background, extremely structured. At that point, we can safely say that you actually know what you're doing on your feet. And not only this jiu-jitsu thing takes it to the ground, which is counterproductive to striking. Like, strikers don't go to the ground. So like this is the opposite side of the spectrum here, right? Plus, it's very unstructured. It's very free-flowing and creative, which karate is not. And what is so attractive about this?
Well, it's for me was the submissions, definitely, to be able to put someone in a position where they give up, without being violent. And I think at heart I am not an aggressive person. I did karate because of self-defense, and I just kept up with it because they taught discipline. But the effectiveness really caught my attention.
Not aggressive, you say, huh?
Mm-hmm. I know.
How is that stick together? Because someone is listening to it is like, those two idiots are talking about nonsense. Like, you're talking about breaking arms, choking each other, or punching each other in the face, but at the same time, in the same phrase, you say non-aggressive. How do you? What's your perspective on this?
Well, yes, I understand. You can be aggressive with jiu-jitsu, obviously. But coming from coming from striking, which is hitting and trying to hurt somebody that way, it's 100% trying to hurt somebody. In jiu-jitsu, you can control. If you do want, you can choose. You can actually choose if you want to be aggressive or not, and be equally effective. So, my mindset is definitely towards the peaceful way. It's to put someone in a submission and not have to hurt them, but knowing that you can make them give up. It's fascinating.
At which point this jiu-jitsu journey turns into a more formal approach?
You mean like when if it was ever formal for me?
Yeah, like at which point, like you're talking about being in the living room on a carpet, right? And
okay, right. Oh,
very informal. At which point this gets more serious, where you are seeking out actual instruction, like you want to get better.
Yeah. Well, finally, I had a friend that recommended a gym. There was a brown belt teaching, and to just go try it. And I'm like, yeah, perfect. So I did a class with Don Whitefield. He's a black belt out here. I was like, wow. Like, finally, like seeing, like I was just blown away. Like, coming from watching the UFC, I never watched any instructionals on jiu-jitsu before. And then seeing someone in front of me explain the mechanics behind techniques. Yeah, that was it. I signed up immediately.
Were you hooked?
And yeah, definitely. It became an everyday thing since then.
So it's interesting because a moment ago you said that in the living room you didn't train every day. It wasn't consistent. It wasn't regular. And now you say that you visit this academy and this becomes daily.
Yeah.
So something changes there.
It's the lessons. Yeah. Cause I mean, I don't know what I'm doing in my living room. It's just for fun. It's like fascinating, but I don't know, well, how do I get better? I don't know. Right. So I'm like, okay, maybe the opportunity one day will show up. Now it finally does. I see an instructor teaching stuff that's just beyond me. Like I actually rolled with him, and I would tap out from him mounting me, you know, and he would just be like, "No, I'm not getting off of you." And I'm tapping. I'm like, "No, and I'm like, "Oh, geez, this is really strange," you know. I'm like, I have to figure this out. There's a part of me that's just like, I got really obsessed.
I feel like that obsession, the healthy obsession, is so important for the student.
It is and how to, I don't know. Everyone must feel it. Like I see that in some of my students. Sometimes some students are very quiet about it, but sometimes I'll see it like, oh, this person is really loving jiu-jitsu and really is like understanding the depth. Or trying, or like they're fascinated by the depth of jiu-jitsu and they want to get there.
Was jiu-jitsu ever hard for you?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think it still is.
And was there a point in any period of your journey where it was too hard?
I don't think too hard. Like I was always present. Just coming from the Kyokushin background, I think that's more scary for me. It was not a big deal to just wrestle around. Like I didn't get hurt the same way. You know, getting kicked in the knees constantly, eventually that, you know, it hurts a lot. Getting kicked in the ribs, you know, getting your ribs, you know, broken, or, you know, getting knocked out with a roundhouse kick. I mean, this does not compare.
I don't think people comprehend what full contact means, what you're describing. I mean, it is. I feel like we are so much more gentle, literally, on the mat within jiu-jitsu environment than some of the traditional approaches.
Yeah, and every time I see someone like, you know, they're like, "Oh man, you're too aggressive." I'm like, no. You know, someone's complaining about like someone putting too much pressure or something like that. Oh, my neck. Well, okay.
What's going through your mind? Walk me through that. What's going through your mind? You're standing back, you're watching the class, and you have a student to complaining and may perhaps, you know, expressing discomfort. Let's just put it that way. What's going through your mind?
Well, me personally, you know, I'm like, I want to know why. So, and I want to be like, okay, like, you know, what happened? What exactly happened? And, you know, it really depends. Obviously, if it's like 110-pound woman rolling with a 200-pound guy that's a brand new white belt and just like cross-facing this poor girl, you know, yeah, I get it. We'll probably have a talk. But if it's just, you know, like, oh man, that submission, that rear naked choke was more of a crank, that kind of talk, it's like, well, you know, every choke is a bit of a crank. You know, just suck it up, I guess. I mean, you know, there's some obviously there's some certain things I don't want to have done in the gym. You know, like stacking on someone's neck, that could be, you know, that could suck, you know, like you know, not being able to sleep properly for a few weeks because your neck is sore. But otherwise, you know, yeah, I guess I'm talking more about myself personally. And it would take quite a bit for me to feel like it's really hard. I mean, sometimes it's hard in the sense that if I have a 300-pound guy on side control and me trying to get out sucks, but I'm not going to tap. I would have when I started, but now I'm going to just relax, you know, with the weight on me or whatever.
This might be somewhat controversial question. Do you feel like the current generation is softer from that perspective? versus the guys or girls who used to train 10 or 20 years ago?
I don't know. Now that I run a tournament league, so I see tons of fighters compete, tons of different complaints, tons of there's toughness, and there's some people that are just about the rules. If they, even in class, like a wrist lock on a white belt, for example. Oh, that hurts. But if you're a blue belt, oh no, that's fine, that's allowed. I'll take that wrist lock. So I don't know how to answer that.
Well, let me ask you this. Actually, this trigger kind of different paths here that I want to explore with you. Speaking of wrist locks, and I mean, we have diversity of different submissions in Jiu-Jitsu. Some of them are more aggressive or violent than others, with different results and different impacts. But is there a such thing as a submission that should not be allowed for a white belt or blue belt versus others? And I'm saying I just had this conversation with somebody, and if we dig deeper from remove the comfort level, we're not talking about comfort. I'm talking about just mechanics of the submission itself. Is there a really big difference between wrist lock or an arm lock?
The wrist is. I think the wrist is a smaller joint, and
yes, 100%.
And I think it comes on a lot faster than an arm lock, and the person defending might not get the chance to really tap. It's because I think wrist locks usually in a tournament. It's like a verbal tap. People yell out of pain. But people need their hands to write. I don't know if that's part of it, but I don't have a big issue with white belts doing wrist locks.
And I'm not necessarily even just specifically talking about wrist locks. I'm just comparing, okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate, 100%. I know I'm going to criticize for this, but it's just playing devil's advocate. If I'll do a shoulder lock, if I do a Kimura lock, and I go way too far past the tapping point, and I tear your ligaments and your shoulder's completely out of the socket, the damage is tenfold bigger than if I do a wrist lock.
That totally.
Right.
Totally.
So, but Kimuras are taught in first week, first month, first 6 months for everybody, and wrist locks are not. And we can have the same conversation with feet and legs.
Yes.
Like nobody wants to get a foot lock because it's unsafe and all the other things. But from the opposite perspective, there's probably dozens of submissions. They are by far more dangerous. Even rear naked choke, I feel, is more dangerous than any joint manipulation.
It's very dangerous, yeah. I think it's the speed of application is what makes it safer. I mean, I'm just guessing. But that kind of makes sense to me.
Let me challenge that. Is the speed of the application, or is the fact that we don't know some of them?
You mean don't know some of the...
some of the submissions. So let's just say for first 5 years, nobody is doing leg locks. And then they start doing it. So they are brand new with leg locks.
Knowledge.
And there is a element of surprise. There is an element of hesitance. There is a risk factor is probably tenfold bigger in our mind than it is. Now you have a second scenario where they do foot locks from day one, but they don't do arm locks. Will they have the same fear with the arm locks when they come along? Do you see what I'm saying? I'm just flipping the scenario.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I think it's just knowing how to do a submission. Nice. This takes a really mature grappler to apply it slowly and know they have a position and not to force breaking. I think everyone can understand it, but a practitioner, you might need a lot of experience to actually do it. Right, so your emotions are not in the way when you're rolling. And I think that goes for probably every submission. Even a wrist lock or a heel hook. If it's done
At every
Like,
point, there's this ending point, right? At every submission, there's this ending point, right? With a breaking point or factor of passing out.
Yeah, but I think if someone is in the middle of a very, I don't know, very competitive submission and is probably going to go as quickly and as hard as possible, and that's dangerous, I think, in any submission.
Yeah, I do agree with that.
So I think
definitely the element of surprise, right?
Yeah, definitely. But I don't see a concern if the position is well established and the submission is applied with control. I don't think it matters which submission that is.
So wouldn't that bring us to the point of how versed are you with control versus submitting?
I think control and understanding the submission itself and what to look for. Like if you're doing a shoulder lock, well, obviously it's going to get tight, right? The shoulder, you can feel like, okay, this is starting to feel like it's going to, it's a little harder to push. It's about to break. And you can kind of stop there a little bit and look at the person in the eye if you can, or just let go if you're just training in the gym. It's not worth hurting somebody.
Yeah, those are tricky situations, right? This is where the maturity comes in.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, competition, that's a different situation, like you're trying to win. So you may have to go all the way. You have to put some speed into it. You're going to have to put your strength into it.
Yeah. This whole jiu-jitsu thing is so intriguing, isn't it?
It's crazy. It's but I love it. It's awesome. It's so awesome.
How has the teaching been for you as an experience, right? So you started at 9, went to traditional martial arts, a lot of structure, a lot of discipline, a lot of respect, a lot of routine. Then it pivots into more freedom, a lot of unstructure. You create your own structure. You create a system.
Yeah.
And at some point you start teaching and relaying that information. And I would imagine that as time goes on, you get better and better and better at this. At least that I would imagine was the goal. And how that experience has been for you as far as the teaching and leading.
It's great. I mean, I try to stick at teaching the things that I know really well. If I'm learning something new, I need to test it a lot so I can feel confident in the lesson. I mean, I have a curriculum, but the curriculum is always changing because I'm improving it or changing certain things and sometimes adding new things. So, yeah, it's more like I'm just trying to make sure, because I remember when I was a blue belt trying to, teaching, I would show an armbar from this position. 10 minutes later, I would show a triangle choke from another different position, totally unrelated. And I would show, and after a while, I'm like, wait, this is more like showing off. So, putting, relevant a lesson together made a lot more sense. And, it just grew from there. It's really difficult because a lot of, my instructor felt like he trained, he was teaching his own style, and I never understood exactly where he was taking his students in the lessons. And I mean, every time, so now when I go to a class to learn, I treat that like a little mini seminar, right?
Do you feel that communication to students as far as where they are going with this is important?
I think so. Well, for me, for my students that they come regularly throughout the week, they'll see that I start the week with a topic and we build on it all the way through the end of the week. We go over everything, just trying to stay on the same topic, because it's very hard to remember what you're doing. And by the end of the week, you see everyone's doing a lot better with that same topic. And That's where I'm at now with how I teach. I take a block, and I would just focus on a situation. I mean, obviously different techniques, but it's all surrounded around one situation.
Would you agree with the effect of the memorizing, or I would phrase, understanding Jiu-Jitsu is the hardest part of all of this?
Oh boy, is it ever. Yeah. It's huge. Like, remember, I remember my instructor teach something, and I'd be like, I would remember one little thing, maybe the one little thing that resonated would be just a grip. And I'd be like, oh, that's awesome, just that one grip. But the whole sequence was like super long, and but I'd be happy with that.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously at this point, I think when you do jiu-jitsu for a long time, yeah, it's a lot easier to remember. I could go to a seminar, and someone can teach a whole bunch of stuff. I can probably walk away remembering about.
Why do you think it's easier?
Well, I think it's just like anything. You know jiu-jitsu. You've done it for a long time.
You mean it's easier for you because you've done it for a long time?
Myself.
Okay.
Yeah,
It doesn't make it. You're not saying there's much easier for a new student.
No, I think a new student's gonna, regardless, they're gonna go through a phase of not remembering anything, just going through a process, a physical process, just going through the movement in the moment. And they need to know that they should not try too hard to remember it. And, that's what I remind my students is like, okay, you'll have a few parts of this technique you're going to remember, which is great. But, just go through the process, the movement. If you need to video it, go ahead. But if you really want to learn it, you're going to have to invest more time. You're going to have to go home and practice there too. You're going to have to write something down. You have to videotape the technique.
Yeah. Videotaping. That's a tool that we didn't have. I didn't have.
No. When did you start jiu-jitsu?
2000.
Holy cow. That's like.
So I was about to say this, when I started, I had privilege to start with Carlson Gracie Sr. And for years, we learned maybe 20 techniques. 20, that's it. And we got yelled at if we did anything outside of that. I mean, it was not even acceptable. It was not even in a realm of being okay. No, you're doing this thing, and that's all you're doing. You're not thinking about anything else. But and I never understood, and I'm not the only one. I've had these conversations with other guys who started with me, but we never understood why it was so close-minded. Why was it so rigid? Like, don't look outside, just do this. And now after 26 years, now I see it, because we didn't have to worry about anything else. There was no clutter. It was simple. It was stupid. It was just, pass the guard and smash, and that's it. And everybody did the same thing, but it freaking worked. And I feel today we are almost like a victim of our own success. Yeah. The creativity in jiu-jitsu is so large, so broad, and teaching, forget about teaching, learning anything out of this chaos is extremely difficult. And then standing in front of a class and having a system, that's one thing. But I also know there's plenty of distractions. Like I taught a class this morning and everybody's talking about something else. I do agree with you that jiu-jitsu is very complex from a learning perspective today. How do we simplify it? Is there a way to simplify it? Is there a way to give a recipe to a student?
No, I don't. Well, I mean, you divide fundamentals to the all levels. There's, I have a fundamental.
But even then, like I was talking with my instructors here at my academy, we were talking about this, and we asked him, well, how come this and this is not on the fundamentals curriculum? And the answer is like, where are we going to put it? Like we already have 70 things on it, and like, okay, so we need fundamentals too. And you create these layers, and then when you start asking yourself, like, are you over cluttering now? Now it's too much. Like, why are we learning this? You know what I mean? Like, we can spin this in both directions almost, in a sense, where I don't know. Well, I'm asking you that. Is there a way to simplify this?
I don't know. Maybe there needs to be a university of jiu-jitsu. You go there full time for about 5 years, and that's all you do every single day. And there's a library of information, and maybe that would work. But wow, that'd be amazing. Actually, I think that would be so cool. But I don't think it's going to get simpler for some reason. I think jiu-jitsu in my journey, it's just like I started with fundamentals, then the Mendes brothers came on the scene, Cabrina, and then everyone's like Marcelo Garcia. So like, suddenly you have X-guard, like there's these new positions, these new techniques, berimbolo, leg dragging. It's like, and crab riding and on. It just doesn't seem to stop, and everyone wants to learn it. I mean, if you're a competitor, these things are important to learn probably, right? So I don't know how it's going to get simple.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure some gyms are like, this is it. This is all we're going to teach, 20 techniques, and that's it. And that's probably good enough for that individual.
Because there was a second argument behind all of this that we didn't touch on. I mean, what is more effective, even from competition perspective? Knowing 5 things to the point that nobody can stop you, or knowing 50 things that you create such a diversity that nobody can stop you?
Totally.
Right? This is like, and we can take this to any sport. We can take this to, basketball or football or swimming or like any sport. There is a strategy behind this. Either you are an expert or you are diverse. And which one will bring you more success, right?
Yep. That is, I think it's not realistic for an individual to kind of like specialize in the whole entire thing. I think it's good to know a lot of information, but you need to understand your A game. Someone's A game should be fairly simple. It's obviously your strengths. And I think what's good about today is that you can develop a game that will probably fit you perfectly. You don't need to force it into somebody. If someone's very flexible, they might like to be inverted all the time, and that they can develop just do that. That's it, and have maybe 2-3 moves from there. But that's how I feel. I feel if it's good to have knowledge. It probably is a good idea to know as much as possible and learn new things, but your A game can't be that.
I like it. Yeah. I think that's a big message for everybody, especially those who are just starting. A game is important. At which point do you think we start developing a game? Like at which point we creating our own system? Like even if we look at ranking from a rankings perspective, is it a blue belt, purple belt, brown?
Well, what I witness, white belts collect a lot of information with just under like techniques, and blue belts, you continue to do that. I think purple belts, with that amount of time, 5 years of training, they start to have an instinct for jiu-jitsu. Their bodies kind of move the way it wants to move. So I'm going to say, everyone's going to have a different time that comes, but I think purple belt is probably a good time where you start understanding really what you're good at.
Yeah, I would agree. That's the creative time. Creative juices, purple belt juices.
I think that's a very special stage, and it's very interesting because it's organic. It just happens by itself. It happened with me. I got really into jiu-jitsu at purple belt, big time. I just loved it so much, and I see that in everyone else that's purple belt. I
have few guys who actually got promoted, a few months back, and like you can tell that like a new passion started, and it's like I'm always intrigued about situations like this. Is it that purple belt promotion that triggers that? Like it gives them the freedom, like gives them the permission to just be creative. Or is it completely coincidental that it's just that rank aligns with the creativity kicking in?
I think it's a bit of both. I think naturally, if there's no belts at all and you just train for 5 years and you don't know what belt you are, you're probably eventually at that point start being a bit like what we know as purple belt today. And I think in the culture of jiu-jitsu, being a purple belt, it's just known you're supposed to be a god or something.
That's what they think.
That's what they think. So that probably helps, like to be like, gives them that confidence, like, oh yeah, I'm there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always it's those guys make me laugh. I always say, if like, you're not a true purple belt if you're not flying or inverting. Like, it's just like you got to go through that stage. You have to.
you just have to right?
go. Yeah,
it's
part
very
of the code. Yeah, you got it. Part of the code.
I mean, the humility comes back, once you hit brown belt and so on. Like, the humility definitely comes back. But, that's a purple belt. That's special. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely is. It was for me for sure. Scott, before we start wrapping this up, we've been at it for a little over an hour, but before we start wrapping this up, I try to ask every guest of mine this question. And during our journey, there is this pivot point. Some of us has more of them than one, but all of us have one. And the pivot point really takes us in the very direction of life and the journey and so on. And I feel like in your case, it was that living room carpet training with your partner. And that set you on a trajectory of what you do today, essentially. Have you ever sat back and thought about it? What if that never occurred? What if your partner didn't have time? What if there was no carpet to roll on? What if there was no book? What if there was no time, or things didn't align, stars were not where they were? Who the hell knows what might be the reason? What if that didn't occur? What would you be doing today?
I believe I'd be doing the same thing. One way or another. In my mind, I wanted to learn jiu-jitsu. Definitely. Even though, just because of the UFC. That's, if I did not watch the UFC, or the UFC did not exist, I probably would be doing something else. But it's because of the UFC. For sure. But the carpet stuff, that was just kind of like dabbling into it and kind of finding, like, I'm like, oh yeah, I actually really like this. But I think I would have still found my way to jiu-jitsu, for sure.
Isn't it interesting how one moment, one event, one simple day can really change what's going to happen to us in the future?
Totally. It's amazing. Just, you can have plans for your whole life, and then something like that just takes you away. It's very evil of jiu-jitsu.
It's
very evil of jiu-jitsu.
It corrupted us all.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Scott, if anybody wants to follow up with you as far as, this conversation is concerned, or perhaps seek some advice from you, wants to connect you, or perhaps even they're in the area and want to visit you, where are you to be found? On social media, websites, online? Where are you at?
Yeah, I mean, you can find me online, Scott Boudreau _jiu-jitsu. My gym's in Vancouver, Kingsway, Collingwood area. I welcome anybody. They can just walk in. If anyone's got questions, I'll answer anybody. Yeah.
Amazing. I'll make sure that, as always, we put all the links in the show notes of this episode. So if you guys want to connect with Scott or reach out with questions or perhaps visit him, you're more than welcome to do it. What an amazing, amazing resource. Scott, thank you for being here. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for being open-minded to these, some of the crazy questions that I sometimes have. What a beautiful journey. I appreciate you. And thank you for hanging out with me for the last 60 minutes or so.
Thanks for having me on, Tom. It was really fun.
Let's wrap it up for today.
Thank you for listening to RŌL Radio. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to leave us a review and help us make the show even more amazing. For future episodes, check out our website and follow us on all major podcast platforms. Take care.